So this vlog is going to push over into some general Wargaming Tactica. This is building on a little bit of Q&A that I had over on my Tactica page. The link to that page is underneath this vlog, underneath this podcast in the info box. We were exploring some ideas and saying, kind of how do you deal with special powers, game-breaking powers in a wargaming system? And this was from the perspective of Pacific Rim Extinction, which I'm having a blast playing. It has the triple threat for me. Simply that we have kaiju, giant space monsters. I'm sold. We've got Jaegers, giant mechs. I'm sold on that. So I'm cool playing either side. And awesome heroic scale pre-painted miniatures. It's like win, win, and win. And the game, movement is key in the game. Movement is key. You use a hex ruler to move. Facing is key. It takes actions to pivot. It's very precise. Very, very precise on how it works. And you have to judge distance. You have to judge range. You have to judge, it's on a hex base, the units, so you have to judge facing. I kind of enjoy it because it simulates this idea really well. If you've had a chance to see the movie, these kaiju and these mechs, they're massive. They're city-sized, and they're so nimble. But at the same time, they're ponderous. It really captures the narrative. So I appreciate the movement system. However, of course, each unit has a special ability to give it some personality, drawing from the movie. And Hakuja, one of the kaiju, it can burrow. So the special in the movie, it went underground and popped up and attacked. So in the game, you can activate its special ability. Physically take it off the table, stick it in your pocket, hold on to it, and when it's time, pop up anywhere on the table. Anywhere on the table. And this is amazing from a couple of perspectives because while both sides have shooting attacks and close combat attacks, the Jaegers tend to have more powerful shooting attacks. So, they can hold their own in close combat, but they're primarily shooting, like the movie. The kaiju, they've got some shooting attacks. They can spit out some acid, do some stuff like that, but mainly they want to get in there and wreck face. They're beast mode on. The balance there is, as I'm running in as a kaiju player, I'm looking to hide behind buildings. I'm looking to spend actions to run. I'm looking to try and eat as little fire as possible on the way in. So the ability to lift one of my models off the table, put it in my pocket, redeploy anywhere, that's massive. That is massive, and this is one of the powers. So how the heck do we counter this? How do we counter this? And again, we're just looking at Pacific Rim Extinction as an idea of it. When you look at a war game, there are going to be phases of the game. Now we're going to step out and make this system independent here. There are systems in each game. Maybe you start out with an initiative, like Battletech, right? Roll for initiative. Alternate moving pieces. Then declare attacks and shoot. Then if you're base to base and still alive, execute physical attacks. Then after that, move to the artillery phase and kind of move to the heat phase. So generally speaking, every unit is going to have something to do in these phases. Some might be a little bit more powerful, maybe more effective shooting. Some might be less effective. That's balanced out by some sort of internal counter system. Battle points, power points, how many points do you want to play, squadron points. But they all kind of follow this stat line. Generally, the better in certain phases, you pay more. The weaker, you pay less, right? Quality versus quantity. But then what a lot of game designers will do to reduce this idea of we're just playing numeric counters on the table, they'll give units special abilities. And maybe this represents an in-game ability, an in-universe ability. The challenge becomes mapping the ability to the narrative. Sometimes it's overpowered. And sometimes it might be overpowered due to poor game design. Look, you guys know I love 40K. Game design is not one of the stronger points in the tabletop version. So you have a lot of wacky and wonky interactions that, because they're poorly designed, they break these rules and they're hard to deal with. And on a side note, compare that with Blackstone Fortress. Blackstone Fortress is a board game set in the Warhammer 40K universe. I love it. The rules play great. They play fast. There's tactical decisions. They're not overly crazy. Each model represents an explorer. They have various abilities that work out really well. And I'm like, why can't we just take Blackstone Fortress rules and play 40K with it? You look at Chain of Command, which has an amazingly tight rule set on there. So sometimes it's bad rules design. Other times it's just the unit itself, and you got to have to come up with the counter. Let's talk about coming up with the counter. That's kind of the framework, because you guys are going to have to look and develop your checklist here of what's working and how it's playing. At the beginning of the game, your army, lance, squadron, space armada, whatever it's going to be, however size game you're playing, however many points, squadron points, power points, whatever, you are at your most powerful. You can leverage the most attacks, the most initiative, the most dice, build a huge dice pool. You want to encourage your opponent, if they have a unit that uses a special ability, in this case going back to Pacific Rim Extinction, the Kaiju Hakuja with the ability to burrow, I want you to do that immediately. I want to encourage you to do that immediately, because this way you're going to burrow up. You're going to hit me hard. You're going to cause a lot of damage to one of my Jaegers. Can't necessarily counter that. But then I'm going to tag team you 2-1, 3-1, 4-1. I'm going to take the entire weight of my team and I'm going to crush you with it. You're going to get your one chance. You can't let a game-breaking special ability go on turn after turn after turn. They're just going to take you apart. You're going to spend all your time trying to chase down using the rules of your army against something that breaks the rules. You're not going to win. So you want to encourage round one. How do we do that? I can't fully say, because I don't know the situation. I don't know the game. I can say in Pacific Rim, you have a mission you're playing. You have mission objectives and sub-mission objectives. I try through terrain placement and sub-mission objectives to encourage an alpha strike, meaning if we have to capture some points, and I'm playing Saber Athena, which is a very fast mech, very sexy, love it. I'm going to be moving fast with that. If I lead with that mech first, that Jaeger first, then Kaiju player is going to look and say, if I punk that mech out and we're playing a movement game, that's an advantage, and I can punk that mech turn one. So it's a little bit of tricknology in there. We're going to try and encourage as best we can. And when it shows up, you got to take it out. We can also do positioning through deployment, castling up. So the danger, again, going back to Pacific Rim as the example, this Kaiju can pop off the table because it simulates burrowing underground. You take the Kaiju off, you put it in your pocket. When you're ready to go, you take it out of your pocket and you put it anywhere without scatter, without interference on the table. What? So facing is huge in the game. It's a hex-based game, and to turn the Kaiju or to turn the Jaeger mechs, you can only do it at certain points. It's very precise. I mean, it simulates the fact that, yeah, these things are rocking and fighting, but they're huge. They're the size of buildings. So if I pop up behind you, you lose defensive bonuses. It's going to be hard to pivot your weapons unless you have a tail attack. If you're a Kaiju, you're not hitting me. That's bad. So I'm going to burrow, pop up behind you, and just trash one of your machines. So we encourage that, or I should say discourage that, by castling up. Castling up works against certain special powers in that, in this example, if I stay in the corner of the table, I limit and I pack it close to the edge with my Jaegers. I limit the fact that you can't pop up behind me. You're going to have to pop up on the front or the sides. Or if you're going to pop up behind, it's going to be on the Jaeger of my choosing, meaning I'll leave the weaker one or the stronger one or the non-mission specific. I can't say which one, depends on the mission. Hanging out on the side of the table that's exposed, you pop up, you punk me, you got your one shot. I can't stop that, but then I'm going to be on you 2-1, 3-1. So you can't stop a special ability, but you need to look and say, based on the mission, based on what you have, how can we get that one ability over and dealt with as soon as possible? It can't go on turn after turn after turn after turn after turn. It just can't. It's going to absolutely take you apart.